China has ended its one-child policy. Has now instated a two-child policy. For those of you who are new to this, there are, since 1979, when they were in the midst of the Communist Revolution, there's let me go back. Since 1979, they've had a one-child policy, and that one-child policy has had a lot of externalities. Here, first of all, is the announcement that we saw. Breaking news, China abandons one-child policy and allows kids to all couples, 2 kids for all couples, which is great. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the one-child policy, here are some of the effects. There are 10,000 abandoned children per year, 600,000 at least in orphanages. And I know people who live in China, and whenever they see like a census go out, they're like, that number could be off by like 300,000. We just have so many people that we just don't know. So, and then also forced abortions for people who, if you are the communist, officer in charge of a certain area, what they would end up doing is saying, listen, we're over, so you can't have a baby, or else I get in trouble, so we need to abort children. Yeah. Also, things like they would kidnap the children, and a lot of American families, unsuspecting Westerners, who'd go and adopt children and think that they're paying like adoption fees. It turns out they're just buying the children off the black market.
Yeah.
So now that's where we're at.
Yeah, it was right. And even where it wasn't forced abortions, there was incredible social pressure on parents to not have more than one kid in areas where the fines and fees, which were significant, might have been a little bit lighter. And there were some exceptions, like in rural areas, you might be allowed to have a second child, or if your first child was a daughter, eventually they lightened up a little bit on that. But they are in an ongoing, steady process of trying to give some small rights back to the people. And this is one that might solve some of the problems that we listed earlier, and those are significant problems. It's a lot of abandoned people, a lot of forced abortions, but it could possibly have negative repercussions too. Their population had, pre this policy, been growing incredibly. And generally, I mean, the economic growth that they've experienced over the past 50 years might help to tamp that down, because people generally have fewer children as they gain more money and move from a rural area to the cities, for instance, which is happening en masse in China. But if their population starts to grow again near the rate that it did before this policy, that could be devastating for China.
So do you really...
I'm not saying they should continue the policy. I'm just saying that they should look into other ways to perhaps incentivize, outside of legally banning something, incentivize smaller families.
Or, I like that, actually, just a caveat, no or. I want to take you back at this policy. They're looking at the consequences of an established policy. You know, we're almost a generation into this. We're going to start seeing mail order grooms. They have more men than they know what to do with. They're coming of age. There are no women to marry. I mean, perhaps there's not a sinister reason, but they need some women.
Yeah.
And we're going to allow you to have 2 kids now.
Yeah. You know what I wonder?
What?
Now we have a generation of only children. Holy crap.
That could be rough.
You've got nobody to slap.
It's going to be so tough to deal with at the bargaining table.
Yeah.
Do you think that's going to really, I mean, there are all these statistics out there saying, like, in America, the crime went down because all the kids who would perpetrate the crimes were aborted. Like,
there are people who've said that.
There are people who say that. So is there going to be some kind of theory like that? I'm saying the person who created this original population bomb theory, Paul Erlich.
I noticed that too, by the way.
I'm Brett Erlich. Same alma mater. I'm just saying that at this point...
Do you know him?
No, but people thought I did, and that might be why I got in. But it's crazy. Did we have the graphic, that final graphic of the propaganda poster from China back in the day? I hope we do. I put it in, but there it is. There's that photo.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that the best thing you've ever seen?
Wait.
And he's got atomic power over his shoulder.
They're implying, first of all, he has a bat on his chest. Yeah, because it gets the food of 2 babies. The children will be so loved that they will develop power over the fundamental building blocks of the universe. They will become Mr. Marvel. Or
I
something
love
of that
it.
sort.
But I can't even imagine anything like that happening in America.
One child, no more Duggars.
No more
that would be
Duggars.
sad. I love.
Quiverful.
That's the thing, is we're rubbing it in their face too. 19 kids and counting.
Oh, can you imagine? That's a horror movie.
Just like, or a dream.
Yeah.
Or a dream.
Or a dream, perhaps, something to aspire to. I mean, we obviously, look, we can't limit people's access to firearms in terms of background checks. We have very little ability to influence American lives in a number of different ways. Nothing like this could happen anytime soon. But again, you don't have to ban something to change it. We have ways of incentivizing smaller or larger families, and we have exercised those in the past. We have ways of influencing where people live and where people work with tax incentives and things of that sort. And so we can gain some of the sort of outcomes that this more overt, explicit social control has, while being a little bit less manipulative in a direct way.